Revealed, arrogant woman destroys dress, thinking it's a waitress. But hidden truth changes every. In the heart of the bustling downtown, Sarah stood behind the counter of the cafe, balancing a steaming cup of coffee in one hand while counting change with the other. The air was thick with the rich aroma of fresh brewed coffee, mixed with laughter and chatter from the diverse crowd. It was a familiar scene, one that brought warmth to her otherwise hectic day. She had perfected the art of juggling two jobs to ensure that her spirited 8-year-old, Lucy, had everything she needed, from dance classes to school supplies. Each day, while the world bustled by, Sarah wore her best smile, hiding the fatigue behind her eyes. The cafe was thriving, a haven of shared stories and community spirit until it wasn't. Then, and she strode, Vanessa the embodiment of privilege, draped in designer labels that screamed entitlement. Her heels clicked assertively, marking her entrance like a royal decree. A hush fell as her eyes scanned the room. A disdainful smirk plastered across her face as she zeroed in on Sarah. "Excuse me," she snapped, with a voice dripping in condescension. "I need my orders sorted." At first, Sarah tried to brush it off. After all, she was used to condescension. But Vanessa's tone sliced through her like a hot knife. As Sarah approached, the socialite's fingers caught the delicate fabric of Sarah's beautiful dress, a family heirloom, a reminder of her mother's love and the sacrifices of generations before her. Before Sarah could utter a word, Vanessa yanked at the dress, the sound of tearing fabric echoing through the cafe, shattering its peaceful ambience. Gasps rose from the other patrons. Sarah's heart twisted. Tears welled in her eyes as the weight of the moment pressed down hard. The dress was not just fabric. It was history, a testament to her resilience, an unspoken bond with her family. She turned away, fury and sadness colliding within her, all the while thinking of Lucy, her dreams, her future. But instead of the usual dismissal, something unexpected happened. The cafe, once just a hub of caffeine and casual chats, morphed into a collective heartbeat. Customers, regulars, and newcomers alike began to rise, their voices mingling. They shared stories of their own struggles, battles against the tide of privilege and antagonism. "This isn't right," exclaimed Mr. Jenkins, the kind-hearted old man who always tipped extra. Each tale mirrored the pain and pride of ordinary lives that admit triumph over hardship, culminating into a raucous support circle around Sarah. Then came the game changer. It turned out Sarah's dress was intricately tied to a renowned local designer, a veteran who had poured his heart into every stitch. The truth laid bare Vanessa's ignorance, forcing a crack in her polished facade. As realization washed over her, an uneasy silence settled in the cafe, punctuated by gasps and whispers of disbelief. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notification from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. In that charged moment, Sarah stood at the crossroads of forgiveness and anger. All eyes in the cafe were locked on her, hopes and fears evident. Would she find it in her heart to forgive the woman who had so brazenly disrespected her family's legacy? Vanessa, shaken and confronted by her own prejudices, awaited Sarah's response, unsure of whether this moment would be the end or a chance for redemption. The unspoken question hung in the air, heavy with possibility. What would Sarah choose? Sarah felt the heat of the crowd's gaze on her, the mix of anticipation and concern palpable in the air. She could hear her heart thudding in her chest, a drumbeat echoing her own emotional struggle. Anger bubbled just beneath the surface, but so did an overwhelming wave of compassion. This moment could define her, if not for her, then for Lucy, who watched from a nearby table with wide, innocent eyes. Vanessa stood there, nearly trembling under the collective scrutiny. The facade of confidence she wore began to crack, revealing vulnerability that few had ever witnessed. It struck Sarah then that beneath the layers of entitlement, there might be someone who had never known the weight of humility or the struggles of real life. Perhaps, like her little girl, Vanessa needed to learn what it meant to rise from mistakes. Taking a deep breath, Sarah focused on the woman before her. "You destroyed something that meant a lot to me," she said, her voice steady but soft, a testament to inner strength. "But I believe in second chances. We all mess up sometimes." Gasps still rippled through the cafe, but this time they were laced with hope. The tension in the air shifted. Whether it was anger, fear, or a glimmer of understanding, Sarah couldn't be sure. Vanessa's jaw dropped slightly, caught off guard by the unexpected empathy. "I didn't mean to," she stammered, her voice barely above a whisper. In that moment, Sarah took a step forward. "I know, and maybe you don't know the value of what you've destroyed." Her gaze softened. "Maybe this will teach a lesson, not just for you, but for all of us." If only she could reach Vanessa's heart, coax out the humanity behind that pretentious facade. Silence hung in the room like a taut string, waiting for someone to strum it. Mr. Jenkins, sensing the shift, nodded towards Sarah. "Sometimes it's not about the material things we lose, but how we respond to them. Let this be your chance to grow," he encouraged. The cafe patrons began to rally, exuding a sense of unity. A woman from the corner added, "Everyone has their battles. Something like this can bring us together." Her voice rang out, echoing the ensemble of shared humanity that a flicker of doubt crossed Vanessa's eyes. Was she really ready to change? With a shaky exhale, Vanessa's mask of arrogance began to slip a little more. "I'm sorry, Sarah." The words were quiet, yet strangely firm. "I didn't think." Sarah nodded, feeling the weight of her own heart easing just slightly. "That's a start. But it takes more than words. It takes sincerity. It takes action." There was power in her assertion, a clarion call for accountability. The two women stood at opposite ends of a pendulum, one made of privilege and pride, the other forged in hardship and truth. Would Vanessa step forward into a new reality, or would she fearfully retreat to the safety of her old ways? The cafe felt electric, the community ready to embrace either outcome. Yet everyone awaited the ultimate transformation that could shift not just one person's life, but the lives of all around them. The cafe remained thick with anticipation. Lucy, with her big bright eyes, broke the silence. "Mom, can people really change?" Her question hung like the first snowflake of winter, gently stirring the warmth of hope through everyone. And as Sarah turned to her daughter, the answer lingered on the tip of her tongue, waiting to be revealed. What would she say? What could deliver a light of truth in a moment so heavy with uncertainty? Sarah's breath caught in her throat as she shifted her gaze back to Vanessa. In that brief silence, every heartbeat felt monumental, each passing second a heavy reminder of choice and consequence. She could feel Lucy's little hand grasp her own, the warmth of innocence and belief that had always been her guiding light. Vanessa was still processing, her brow furrowed, and for the first time in a long time, she looked vulnerable like a child caught doing something wrong. But it was just a dress. The statement came more as a plea for understanding than an excuse. "Just a dress?" Someone from the back of the cafe questioned, their voice dripping with disbelief. It was a connection to someone you didn't even take the time to know. The murmurs intensified, the onlookers leaning in, their own frustrations and observations mingling in the air, creating an electrifying atmosphere. Vanessa's shaky grip on her confidence began to deteriorate further as she struggled against the tide of community emotion. But it had a price tag. Vanessa shouted, desperation taking over and the facade she had crafted crumbling further. "It was something I wanted for myself," a voice from the front chimed in, soft but firm. "Material things can never replace the connections we make." That dress was more than just fabric. It was a piece of someone's story. The crowd shifted, turning to face the speaker, who had become the unintentional voice of a humbled collective. For the first time, Sarah felt compelled to truly look at the woman standing across from her. Vanessa's perfectly styled hair, the designer shoes, and the polished nails didn't matter anymore. Beneath all that was a young woman trapped in her own expectations, her own image. Lucy asked if people can change, Sarah said, lifting her chin and meeting Vanessa's eyes. We can change, Vanessa. We can recognize that the things we want for ourselves don't have to come at someone else's expense. That is how we grow. As Sarah spoke, she saw a shift within Vanessa. The tension in her shoulders eased slightly, and that brittle bravado was giving way to something more genuine, a flicker of humility. What if I try to make it right? Vanessa's voice wavered, each word tentative but filled with hope. Maybe I could help fix it? Not just fix it, Mr. Jenkins interjected, his smile encouraging. You could create something new out of it, work alongside Sarah. Teach others about your own experience, what it means to be accountable. You'd be surprised what can come from mistakes if you're willing to learn. The crowd buzzed with excitement. They had become intertwined in this emotional tapestry, each one hoping for transformation not only from Vanessa, but in their own lives. But what if I mess it up again? Vanessa whispered, her voice cracking. Then you try again, Sarah answered, gently squeezing Lucy's hand. And we all will be here to help, because that is how life works. We lift each other up. Vanessa took a deep breath, a tide of relief washing over her. The weight of the past was heavy, but the possibilities of the future began to shimmer faintly in the chaos. Okay, Vanessa said, her voice resolute yet shaky. I want to try. I really do. The crowd erupted in soft applause, surprised yet deeply moved by the shift. Sarah felt her heart flutter with hope. But just as Vanessa was about to step closer, her phone buzzed loudly, shattering the moment as she glanced down. The look on her face changed, now a mix of confusion and dread. Wait, I didn't mean to, she faltered, her face draining of color. Everyone turned to her, and the energy shifted again, this time charged with a new tension. What now? Someone whispered, eyes wide with anticipation for whatever was coming next. And as the cafe waited, Sarah couldn't shake the gnawing feeling that the real challenge was just beginning. Vanessa's fingers trembled as she stared at her phone. The screen lit up with a name that made her stomach twist. It was her mother, and a sense of dread washed over her. She hadn't spoken to her in weeks, an argument that had escalated, hurtful words thrown like stones. Her heart raced as she pressed the green button to answer, the crowd around her fading into a distant buzz. Hey, she greeted, trying to mask her anxiety. Vanessa. Her mother's voice crackled through the line, filled with static and tension. I've been trying to reach you. You need to come home now. Why? What's going on? Vanessa's breath hitched. The moments at the cafe felt suspended in time. It's about the dress. There are things you need to know. You won't believe it, but it's serious, really serious. Panic clawed at her chest as the onlookers leaned closer, concern etched across their faces. The moment of connection she had begun to build now felt ripped apart. She glanced at Sarah, whose expression was a mix of worry and encouragement, silently urging her to stay calm. I don't listen to me, her mother cut in, her voice sharp but trembling. Just get here, please. I can't explain everything over the phone. Vanessa's mind raced, thoughts spiraling back to the gown that once belonged to her friend, Talia, the one she had dismissed as insignificant. Suddenly, guilt settled like a rock in her stomach. She hadn't just destroyed a dress. It felt like she had broken a bond, one she hadn't even recognized as a lifeline until it was too late. Fine, I'll be there. Her voice was steadier than she felt, and the call ended as abruptly as it had begun. What is it? Sarah asked gently, stepping closer, her curiosity piqued. I need to leave. Vanessa swallowed hard. She scanned the crowd, hoping to find some sign of understanding. I have to go see my mom. As she turned to walk away, a chorus of murmurs filled the cafe. The earlier warmth had flickered into something else: concern, suspicion, unanswered questions. She glanced back, searching for a spark of encouragement, but instead found a sea of questioning eyes. Vanessa, Mr. Jenkins called, his voice soothing. Whatever is going on, don't forget what you just said. You can change. You can make amends. The truth lanced through her, sharp and painful. The fear of facing her past mingled with the hope of a better future. She nodded slowly, appreciating the weight of their shared moment, even as it slipped through her fingers. I will come back. I promise, she assured them, her voice catching. Then she hurried out, the door swinging shut behind her, leaving a mix of emotions swirling in the café. Outside, the cool air hit her face as she hurried to her car, her mind racing faster than her heartbeat. What could possibly be so serious? Was the dress really just a dress after all? As she drove towards her childhood home, questions spun in her head. Did she truly want to face the repercussions of her actions? Would her mother even want to talk after everything that had happened? With each passing block, uncertainty gnawed at her. But a flicker of a memory ignited hope within her. Talia's laughter, the way they had once planned their futures together. Their friendship had meant so much to her, yet she had brushed it aside. As she parked in her childhood driveway, dread coiled in her stomach. The house felt bigger and emptier than she remembered. She stepped out, hesitating for a moment. Nothing felt certain, and the emotions crashed over her like waves. What was at stake? Who would she find on the other side of that door? Bracing herself, she knocked, the sound echoing hollowly in her chest. In that moment, Vanessa understood. She was on the brink of facing not just her mother, but her own buried feelings and regrets. After a heartbeat that stretched into infinity, the door swung open, and Vanessa stood frozen, her breath catching in her throat again. This was it. The scene unfolding within had the potential to shatter everything she thought she knew. What awaited her on the other side of that door could change everything, and as she faced her mother, she realized that this was not just about a missed connection or a ruined dress. It was about her journey back to herself. And buried in the silence, the answer to the question she had feared the most lingered over them, waiting to be revealed. Vanessa stood at the threshold, her heart pounding like a drum. Her mother's eyes, once warm and welcoming, were now clouded with a mixture of hurt and something akin to fear. The living room was dimly lit, the familiar scent of her mother's lavender candles filling the air, but the memories felt tainted. This was the home she had known, yet it felt utterly foreign. Mom, she started, unsure how to bridge the gap that had formed between them. Each moment stretched, heavy with unspoken words. Her mother stepped aside, gesturing for her to enter. Come in. We need to talk. The door shut behind her, cutting off the outside world. Vanessa felt a pit forming in her stomach as she recalled the fight that had led her here. A wave of guilt washed over her as she thought about how they had both let their pride engulf them. Now, in the charged silence, it felt as though every misplaced word and action hung in the air like stale smoke. What is going on? She asked again, her voice wavering. Sit down. Her mother's tone was softer now, laced with fatigue. Vanessa complied, taking a seat on the worn couch where they had spent countless hours talking and laughing. It's about Talia. I know you weren't close anymore, her mother began, her fingers trepidatiously fiddling with a throw pillow. That name hit Vanessa like a brick. Talia? What about her? The memories of their friendship flickered in and out of her mind, blessed moments tainted by guilt. She called me, her mother said, her voice breaking slightly. That dress, it belonged to her grandmother. It's not just a dress, Vanessa. It has a history, a significance to her family. Vanessa felt heat rise to her cheeks as her heart constricted. I thought Talia didn't care about it. The words tasted bitter in her mouth, a hasty justification of her actions that felt hollow now. Her mother sighed, the weight of disappointment palpable. She cared, Vanessa, and you dismissed it. You didn't consider that what seems insignificant to one person might mean the world to another. Tears sprang to Vanessa's eyes, the reality of her actions crashing upon her like a high tide. I didn't mean to. I never thought. I know you didn't. Her mother interjected gently, sorrow layered in her voice. And it's not just the dress. It's the way you handled everything after. You walked away instead of trying to fix it. You didn't reach out. In that moment, the buried emotions bubbled to the surface, her mother's words striking a nerve. I was scared. I felt so trapped, she admitted, her voice cracking. I didn't know how to deal with it. And now it feels too late. Her mother reached across the couch and took Vanessa's hand. It's never too late. And what happened can't be changed, but you can still reach out to her. Maybe it's time to make amends. Vanessa's breath trembled as she considered her options. The idea of facing Talia filled her with dread, but so did the thought of letting everything remain unresolved. What if she doesn't want to talk to me? Then you've done your part. But don't let fear make that decision for you. Reach out, Vanessa. Her mother's gaze bore into hers, a flicker of hope shining through the pain. The room grew quiet as Vanessa mulled over her mother's words. Could she really do that? Could she take the first step towards reconciliation? The knot in her stomach twisted tighter as she thought about the potential rejection, not only from Talia, but from her own past, as well as she wrestled with those thoughts. The doorbell rang, interrupting their heavy silence. They exchanged glances, filled with the possibility of change. Who could that be? Her mother rose cautiously, tension seeping back into her posture. Vanessa felt her heart quicken again. I don't know. The door creaked open slowly, revealing a familiar silhouette. Vanessa's breath hitched again as she caught sight of Talia, standing there with uncertainty radiating off her. The air crackled with tension, and in that moment, a wave of emotions surged through Vanessa. This was going to change everything, but would it be for better or worse? The room froze, and all the air seemed to become thick as Vanessa and Talia locked eyes. An unspoken history hung heavily between them, years of laughter, secrets, and conflicts. Talia stood there, her hands awkwardly clasped in front of her, a faint blush creeping up her cheeks. Hey, Talia's voice came out soft, almost a whisper as she stepped over the threshold. The nerves were palpable. Vanessa could see the flicker of uncertainty flash across Talia's face, matching her own emotions perfectly. Can we talk? Talia asked, her gaze darting between Vanessa and her mother, the awkwardness tightening like a noose. Sure, Vanessa managed, her heart racing as she watched Talia take a hesitant step inside. It felt surreal, almost like a part of her was still lingering outside, unsure if it was ready to confront the mess they had created. What are you doing here? Vanessa's voice was steadier than she felt. She could hear her mother retreating into the kitchen, giving them space, but her presence lingered in the background. Talia paused, the energy filling the room shifting. I didn't want to just wait for you to reach out. I figure maybe I should come here instead. You shouldn't have to, Vanessa answered quickly, the guilt of past mistakes washing over her again. I should have reached out first. I didn't mean to hurt me. Talia cut in, the hurt flooding back into her eyes. It's not just about the dress, Vanessa. It was everything. You just shut me out when things got complicated. Vanessa felt her chest tighten. I was overwhelmed. I thought by disappearing, it would just fade away. Not like a headache. The analogy tasted bitter on her tongue. I thought it would be easier. Talia crossed her arms, her expression a storm of emotions. Easier for who? You walked away from everything we built. You left me to figure it out alone. I'm sorry. Vanessa felt the tears start to brim in her eyes again. I never wanted to hurt you. I never thought you'd care so much about that dress. The dress was a symbol for me, Talia said, her voice wavering just enough to reveal her pain. It was part of my family's history. You took it lightly, but I couldn't. Vanessa looked down, blinking rapidly as she tried to match Talia's intensity. I just didn't realize. I thought I was freeing myself, clearing the path for my own life. Except it was just yours to clear. You didn't even think about how your actions would impact me, Talia retorted, the fire in her eyes giving way to vulnerability. Silence stretched between them, allowing the weight of their feelings to settle. Vanessa felt a deep ache in her chest as regret mingled with desire for reconciliation. She suddenly felt so small, wishing she could go back, wishing she had fought for their friendship. I want to fix this. Vanessa finally broke the silence, her voice a whisper burdened with sincerity. Not just about the dress, but everything. Maybe we could start over? Talia's expression softened slightly, like a crack in a winter ice sheet. But Vanessa could see the walls still standing firm. It's not that easy, Vanessa. Trust takes time, and we lost so much of it. Vanessa's heart sank, but her resolve strengthened. I'm willing to work for it. I'll do whatever it takes. I can't just let us end like this. Just as Talia was about to respond, a tense silence echoed between them, both of them grappling with the hopes and fears of their crumbling friendship. But a glimmer of possibility sparked in Talia's eyes, even if she didn't let it show. I guess she started slowly. We could try to talk it through. The door creaked slightly in the background as light faded, and while a flicker of hope ignited within Vanessa, dread still twisted in her stomach. They both knew the road ahead would be far from easy. As they began to step down this uneasy path, a sudden loud crash crashed through the silence, shattering the moment. Vanessa jumped, realizing how vulnerable they were standing there, unguarded. What was that? Talia whispered, eyes wide with panic. The house seemed to tremble around them, and fear tightened its jaws once more. What had just crashed? And was this another obstacle to overcome, or something worse? Talia's eyes widened, and her breath quickened as she turned toward the source of the noise. It felt like the walls themselves were closing in, the momentary connection they had begun to forge slipping through their fingers. I don't know, Vanessa stammered, her heart pounding. Maybe it's the wind? She forced a shaky laugh, but it barely masked her rising fear. Vanessa, Talia said, her tone firm yet shaky, we need to check. It could be something serious. With a hesitant nod, Vanessa moved toward the door, her mind racing through possible scenarios. As she stepped into the dim hallway, the remnants of her earlier emotional turmoil lingered, weaving through her thoughts like an unsettling whisper. Talia joined her, her steps hesitant but steady. They made their way to the kitchen, where the sound had come from. As they reached the threshold, Vanessa's mother stood frozen, eyes wide, half-turned towards the floor. In front of her, a porcelain vase lay shattered, pieces glinting under the fluorescent lights like jagged icicles. "Oh no, Mom!" Vanessa burst out, her heart sinking deeper. "What happened?" "I was trying to put it on the shelf," her mother said, her voice wavering. "It slipped from my hands." Talia stepped into the kitchen beside Vanessa, her earlier hurt momentarily pushed aside in the urgency of the moment. She knelt to help pick up the shards, her fingers brushing against the remnants of the vase. "It's just a vase," Talia said softly, attempting to soothe an invisible tension in the air. "Accidents happen." But as she said it, Vanessa could see the shadow of pain lingering in Talia's eyes, reminding her of the deeper wounds they had just begun to address. "It was just a vase," Vanessa murmured, and Talia looked up, startled. "No, it's." Talia took a breath, clearly caught between the chaos of emotions swirling within her. "It's representative of the fragility we're fighting against." Vanessa felt the lump in her throat swell again. "You're right. Everything feels so fragile, like one more mistake will break us." Just then, Vanessa's mother cleared her throat, pulling them back into the present. "I'm so sorry, you two. I didn't mean to interrupt your whatever it is you were discussing." "It's okay, Mom," Vanessa replied, forcing a smile. "We needed a little distraction, I guess." But beneath her words, a storm brewed. What was going to happen next? Would they return to their previous conversation, raw emotions still clinging in the air, or would the weight of reality pull them back into silence? As they worked together to clean up the mess, Talia turned her gaze to Vanessa. "You know," she said, hesitating slightly as if testing the waters, "this could be our chance to rebuild. Not just from the vase, but from everything." Vanessa's heart raced. Could they really? "Maybe," she began, her voice low, "we could turn over a new leaf piece by piece." Talia's eyes sparkled with cautious hope. "But we need to be honest with each other about how we got here." Vanessa nodded fervently, the heat of vulnerability rising in her cheeks. "Then let us do that." Their conversation hung in the air like an unfinished puzzle, urging the pieces to fit, leading towards a truth that seemed just within reach. Before they could continue, the front door swung open with a gust of wind. The sound sent chills rolling down Vanessa's spine. She turned to see a shadow moving in the doorway, a figure stepping inside, unexpected and unwelcome. "Hey, is everything all right?" came the unfamiliar voice, a stranger standing there with an air of authority. "What now?" Talia whispered, a spark of apprehension igniting between them. Was this interruption a warning or a signal that the next challenge was just beginning? The door creaked open wider, revealing a tall figure dressed in a crisp navy suit, a badge hanging prominently from his belt. He scanned the room, eyes narrowing as they locked onto Vanessa and Talia. "Are you two all right?" he asked again, voice steady. Vanessa felt a weight settle in her stomach. This was no casual visitor. He exuded authority, which only intensified the unease that had started to ripple through her. She exchanged a glance with Talia, whose brows were knitted in concern. Yeah. Vanessa stumbled over her words, unsure how to address this unexpected presence. "We're fine, just cleaning up a mess," Talia interjected, her voice louder than she intended, almost offensive. She gestured toward the shattered vase with a forced laugh. "Accidents happen, right?" The officer nodded slowly, but there was a flicker of skepticism across his face. "I see, but we received a call about potential disturbances in the area." His gaze shifted, taking in the pieces of porcelain scattered on the floor, the remnants of a fragile moment none of them wanted to discuss. Vanessa's heart raced. A call? Who could have called about them? Was this an intrusion into their already fragile emotional state? Disturbances? That's strange, Vanessa managed, feeling the knot in her throat tighten. "Just our normal routine here." The officer took a step closer, his expression softening slightly. "Look, I just want to make sure everyone is safe. It's been a rough day for a lot of people. You never know who might feel the pressure." Talia's puzzled expression mirrored Vanessa's anxiety. "What do you mean? Is something happening outside?" "Nothing you need to be worried about," he replied. But there was something in his eyes, a hint of concern that suggested otherwise. "Just some reports of loud noises. I thought it might be related." A silence hung between them, thick and suffocating. Vanessa felt the weight of their earlier conversation, the possibility of rebuilding, of facing their truths slipping away under the officer's intense gaze. "Could we just have a moment to ourselves?" Talia asked, her voice softer now, almost pleading. The officer hesitated, then nodded, stepping back slightly. "Sure, but I'll be right outside if you need anything." "Just," he sighed, glancing at the door before fixing them with a serious look. "Stay safe." As he exited, the tension in the room shifted. It felt as if the air had thickened, turning heavier than before. Vanessa turned to Talia, her heart pounding. "What just happened? Who would report us?" "Maybe it's just a coincidence," Talia suggested, though her voice lacked conviction. "But the timing feels strange." Vanessa crossed her arms, still reeling from the encounter. "I can't shake the feeling that something bigger is going on. Our problems felt overwhelming before, but now she swallowed hard, fighting the urge to let fear take hold." "Do you think it has anything to do with us? With what we talked about?" Talia's gaze met hers, a mix of fear and determination flickering in her eyes. "Maybe we need to face this head on. Whatever is happening outside, we can't let it stop us from digging deeper into our own mess." Just as Vanessa was about to respond, the sound of a loud crash resonated from outside, shaking the walls of the house. "What was that?" Talia's voice trembled slightly, glancing toward the window where the shadows of chaos danced outside. "I don't know, but we have to find out." Steeling themselves, the girls moved towards the door, drawn toward the mystery and the storm brewing just beyond their doorstep. As they stepped into the unknown, they could only hope that they were ready for whatever challenge awaited them. What had they stumbled into, and would their own fragile connection withstand the unstoppable forces gathering outside? The world outside felt charged, a thick tension crackling through the air as Vanessa and Talia stepped onto the porch. A commotion swirled just out of sight, with distant shouts echoing through the cool evening. The sun hung low, casting eerie shadows that danced along the lawn. "What if it's something really bad?" Talia whispered, her eyes darting nervously from side to side. "Then we'll deal with it together," Vanessa replied, more confidently than she felt. They moved cautiously, the creak of the porch boards beneath them sounding like a warning. In the distance, a group of neighbors gathered, their faces twisted in concern. Vanessa recognized Mrs. Jenkins, the elderly woman from across the street, standing with her hands clasped tight in front of her. "What's going on?" Vanessa called out, her heart racing. That a burly man in a baseball cap turned to her, his brow furrowed. "There has been some vandalism down at the grocery store. A few of us are just trying to figure out what happened. Kids with too much time, I reckon." "Vandalism?" Talia echoed, her voice barely a breath. Vanessa felt her pulse quicken at the thought. It wasn't just trouble. It was a sign of something larger, a wave of unrest tumbling through the community. "Are you sure it's just kids?" she asked, unable to shake the feeling of dread growing inside her. "Had a few kids spotted running away," he said, shrugging. "But with everything else going on, who knows these days?" "What else is going on?" Vanessa pressed, her mind racing. Before he could answer, the sound of shattering glass jolted them. Both girls turned to the grocery store down the street, where glass shards littered the ground like fallen stars. Shouts of panic erupted as people began to scatter, retreating back to the safety of their homes. A lump formed in Vanessa's throat. "This is bad, Talia. We need to know more." Talia's fingers trembled as she tugged at Vanessa's sleeve. "Are you sure this is safe? What if it gets worse?" As if on cue, the officer from earlier emerged from the crowd, his expression stern, calling for everyone to remain calm. "Stay inside, everyone. We'll sort this out," he shouted, glancing their way. His eyes met Vanessa's, a silent warning passing between them. They were no longer just observers. Tension coiled around them, pulling them towards the heart of chaos. "We have to go back inside, right?" Talia suggested, her voice shaking. "No," Vanessa countered, newfound determination coursing through her. "We need to understand what is happening. What if this is just the beginning? If we're going to face our own mess, we can't turn back now." As she spoke, an unexplainable energy surged between them. The bond they shared felt unwavering in the face of the uncertainty swirling around them. With hesitant resolve, the girls stepped off the porch, their feet crunching against the gravel as they moved towards the chaos igniting their community. "Stick close," Vanessa urged, gripping Talia's hand tightly. Together, they pushed against the tide of fear as they edged nearer, ready to confront whatever truth awaited them. An unexpected crash echoed again, sending another wave of icy fear through Vanessa. But they couldn't look back now. This moment could mark the beginning of their transformation or their undoing as they approached the grocery store. The scene shifted and a figure darted from the shadows, and for a fleeting second, everything seemed to freeze. Who were they running from? Or perhaps what? The question lingered heavily in the air as they drew closer, hearts racing. What were they about to uncover? As they moved deeper into the unfolding chaos, Vanessa and Talia felt an overwhelming mixture of fear and determination propelling them forward. The sounds of chaos hung in the air, shouts, the clattering of objects, panic stirring like a tide, threatening to consume them. But there was something more profound swirling within them too, a shared resolve to face their confrontation. "Stay close," Vanessa urged once more, her grip tightening on Talia's hand as they edged closer to the grocery store. Its windows, once gleaming and welcoming, were now shattered, remnants of glass glistening ominously on the asphalt. Faint cries of anger floated through the air as they peeled back the layers of confusion, each sound clenching their hearts. "Do you see that?" Talia whispered, pointing towards a group of teenagers crouched behind a car, their faces painted with a mixture of bravado and unease. Vanessa felt a knot tighten in her stomach. Those kids could be the very essence of rebellion, the reflection of unfiltered rage spilling into the streets. Before she could process it all, a familiar voice broke through the tumult. Mr. Jenkins was at the forefront, rallying neighbors, trying to calm everyone down. "We need to band together," he called out, his voice firm yet tinged with fear as he stood defiantly against the chaos. With each passing moment, the weight of what they faced felt heavier. "Talia, I think this is deeper than vandalism," Vanessa said, anxiety simmering in her chest. "These kids, they're not just acting out. Maybe they're hurting, just like we've been." She glanced at Talia, whose expression mirrored her own internal turmoil. "It's time to face it then," Talia responded, a spark igniting in her eyes. "If we can't address our own issues, how can we support others, especially when they need it most?" The duality of their conversation echoed between them like a revelation. Determined, they decided to step forward, moving with purpose as they approached the group huddled in the shadows. The teenagers exchanged glances, suspicion leaping in their eyes, but Vanessa held her hands up. "Hey, we're not here to judge. We want to help. Okay?" Next to her, Talia took a breath and spoke up. "We've been through our share of struggles. We know what it feels like to feel trapped, to act out. But hurting people isn't the answer." Those words hung between them, charged with honesty and a shared yearning for connection. The group of teens hesitated, uncertainty flickering in their eyes, but the atmosphere began to shift. One of the boys stepped forward, fear and fury waging war in his expression. "What do you know about it? You don't understand." "No, you're right," Vanessa replied, her voice steady. "But I do know about pain. I know what it feels like to lose something valuable and not know how to react. Hurting others won't heal your wounds, it just creates more scars." She could feel the warmth of Talia beside her, charging their bond with strength. Mr. Jenkins stepped closer, his own presence grounding. "Let us find a way to channel this anger, this hurt. It's okay to be upset, but hurting others? That's not the way. We need to work together, not against each other." As tensions lingered, Vanessa and Talia noticed a flicker of recognition among the teenagers, a spark of understanding lighting up a previously darkened space. The youth lowered their defenses slightly, grappling with emotions long suppressed. "Maybe it's time to show what we can build instead of what we can break," Talia suggested, stepping forward, her voice lighter yet filled with purpose. "Who says we can't come together, not just as adults and teens, but as a community?" The eldest of the teens took a moment to let the words sink in, his brows furrowed as he exchanged glances with his friends. "You really think we can make a difference?" "Absolutely," Vanessa replied passionately. "Sure, it won't be easy, but if we can face our mess and help one another heal, we'll only come out stronger on the other side." In that moment, the pieces began to fall into place. The realization washed over them all what they were. Doing wasn't simply confronting chaos. They were rebuilding hope. As murmurings of agreement rippled through the crowd around them, it felt as if transformation was bubbling to the surface. "This is a start. Isn't it?" one brave young girl whispered, her voice quivering but filled with promise. "Yes," Vanessa affirmed, her enthusiasm infectious. "Let us come together to make something beautiful out of this chaos. Let us write a new story." In a profoundly moving display of unity, the kids began to step forward, encouraged by the support from their community. Now, anger had turned into a flicker of hope, emotions sparking into a wildfire of potential. And no longer just two girls struggling with their past, but now beacons of a community on the brink of healing. Vanessa and Talia felt lighter. The resolution built from shared experiences dawned upon them. All along, they sought connection, a kinship born from hardship. And now they were allies in a quest for change, each step forging a bond that would weather any storm. As they embraced that moment, tears of joy mingled with laughter, and they no longer felt lost or alone. They were on the path to rebuilding not just their friendships, but a fractured community woven together by all that they had faced. They could feel the warmth grow, the support of the neighborhood behind them. And in that simplicity, the answer to life's struggles unfolded. Together, they could change not only their destinies but the world around them. This was the dawn of a new beginning. Together, as families and community, they had decided to rise. You need to subscribe now to witness more transformations like this. This is the moment to show your support. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment your reactions and feelings about this inspiring ending below. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see how love and unity can overcome division.